U.S. national debt topping the size of the economy for the first time since World War II. Connor Hansen live from the White House with all of the latest. Connor.
Hi, Cheryl. That debt to GDP ratio ticking above 100%, nearing the all-time record of 106% that was set all the way back in 1946. And there's no sign of that reversing. Some estimate we could break that record as soon as the year 2030.
There's no question that no country has ever remained a superpower when its debt got too large. So right now we have the very dangerous situation where we spend more on interest payments on the national debt than we do on national defense. That is something that no country that was a superpower has ever returned for.
New data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis shows the debt reaching $31.27 trillion at the end of March. At the same time, gross domestic product was estimated to be $31.22 trillion year over year. The president of the Committee for a Responsible Budget says we need to stop the bleeding before the spiraling debt pushes up interest rates to an unsustainable level.
So borrowing on everything from school loans to credit cards to mortgages is higher than it otherwise would be. It pushes up prices. So inflation, the increase that we're paying for all of our goods all the time, is regularly higher because we're borrowing so much. And this ultimately leads to slower economic growth, lower standard of living, lower wages.
And as this debt grows, so does the cost of servicing it. An estimated $10 trillion in debt is maturing this year. Cheryl.
All right, Connor, thank you so much. Live for us at the White House, Connor Hansen. I want to bring in Texas Congressman Chip Roy. Congressman, you're a member of the House Budget Committee. I want to get your reaction to what the Wall Street Journal is calling a, quote, unthinkable milestone for our nation.
Yeah, great to be on. And, it's a ticking time bomb and that some of us have been talking about for a long time. Now, thankfully, we've taken some strides over the last couple of years to do something about it. The big, beautiful bill, we had some pretty significant cuts to some mandatory spending. And over the last 3 years, we've held discretionary spending basically flat. That's actually a win in Washington. But for the American people generally, we need to do much more. And, I've been calling for much deeper reductions in spending and returning powers to the states and the people. Unfortunately, government is sort of on autopilot at times. So we're going to have to keep clawing away at it. But, the reality is we're going to destroy our country if we continue to do this. And by the way, that 31 trillion that you're talking about, that's not even the rest of the story, because there's the intergovernmental transfers that pushes it up to 40 trillion. There's a lot of private debt. There's a lot of state and local government debt. So we've got to stop the profligate spending. And it begins by reforming mandatory spending, but also holding in check discretionary.
Well,
and that's going to be tough as we deal with the defense spending.
I was going to say, the House holds the purse strings. At the same time, we are looking at midterm elections. And a lot of times cuts aren't politically popular, as you know.
Well, the good news is so far we're heading into our appropriation season, and the House intends to keep spending at our current spending levels, meaning holding spending flat while we try to get economic growth to grow us out of it. We'll have to work with the Senate to try to achieve it. We obviously just finally funded the Department of Homeland Security after Democrats were holding it up for the last 70 days. Irresponsibly so, by the way. But we've got to keep going further, and we got to root out fraud. I think President Trump and the administration and Russ Vought at the Office of Management Budget is very serious about that. But look, the biggest obstacle, and I said this to Elon Musk when he came in to address us at the early stages of Doge, and he talked about all the cuts and all the waste that he's going to be able to find. And I said, you're going to find a lot. But I said, your problem is going to be, and I pointed to all my colleagues in the room, your problem are right here. You got members who always want to be able to, quote, bring home the bacon. And sometimes you got to look at your constituents and say, enough. And we need to do more of that. We're taking a step in the right direction, but we got to go a lot further.
Well, defense spending is elevated now as the war in Iran continues. Secretary Hegseth was facing questions on the Hill this week about the cost of the conflict so far. And, do you think that we have appropriate resources allocated for the U.S. military right now? Do there need to be changes on that front? The supplemental, $200 billion, it's a big ticket to ask of you and your colleagues.
Yeah, and remember last year we had $150 billion included in the big, beautiful bill so that the Defense Department could start to modernize and do some things that had languished under the previous administration. We've been calling for a massive reduction in waste and fraud over at the Pentagon. We've been getting some, indication that they're hearing us and moving in that direction. Secretary Hegseth announced that they are going to finally put forth an audit that the Pentagon will pass. I hope to see that. here soon. We need to see that, but we've got to see them cut waste before we're throwing more money at them. And we're talking about a war supplemental. Look, I've been very supportive of the president pushing back on Iran, resetting the geopolitical environment and pushing back on China and Russia by making sure that we have a say on how the Straits of Hormuz are run and not just Iran, stopping their nuclear capability and conventional. But at the end of the day, we don't want to have boots on the ground, and we're not going to give them a blank check. We're going to have to all sit down as Congress and say, look, if we're going to have funding for whatever's going on over there, we got to pay for it. You can't have guns and butter. If you're going to want some more guns, we're going to have to cut butter. And by the way, we're in so much debt. By the way, when we had this amount of debt in 1946, we had just saved the world from fascism. Now we're at it because we've built a social welfare state that's destroying the country from within. And we've got to stop doing that and then make sure we're serious that if we're going to spend more on the military, we got to have even more restraint on discretionary and more restraint on these mandatory programs that are bankrupting us.
Interesting. Well, it's been 60 days since the conflict began. In your view, does the White House need a war powers resolution from Congress to move forward? The White House actually just a few moments ago sending a letter to Speaker Johnson, kind of saying, look, there's a ceasefire in place here. I'm paraphrasing the letter from the White House because we just got it. But look, we haven't had armed conflict. We're in the middle of a ceasefire. So the president's definitely pushing back on this move on the War Powers Act. I wanted to get your reaction to that.
Well, I happen to have sort of two views of this. I have a pretty wide view of the powers of the commander-in-chief. I'm not sure if the War Powers Act has any real limits on what the president can do to defend the United States of America. Our power is primarily with the power of the purse, which we were just talking about. So the president and the White House, they have to come to us for us to fund things. So if we want to go restock our stockpiles and make sure our munitions are where they need to be. And then if we want to be funding active engagement in Iran, they got to come to us because we got to write the check. So that's going to be where they need to do. We need the Pentagon to come to us and explain how they're going to use the money. We need to know what the end game here is and what the plan is. But we're not going to give a blank check, and we're not going to just be an endless war where we have boots on the ground. But we do need to finish the job. The president is right to reset the geopolitical stage. I want to be very clear about that. But Congress is going to have to sit down and say there's going to be a cost to this and have that conversation. The War Powers Resolution is, frankly, it's kind of an academic, legalistic argument. The fact is that the president has pretty strong power as commander-in-chief, and Congress has strong power and power of the purse. That's where they collide.
All right. Well, let's talk about what you're seeing at home in Texas's 21st district. Energy prices have been on the rise. How are your constituents dealing with the hit to their wallets? What are you hearing? Because you are at home in Texas right now.
Yeah, well, thankfully, Texas is a much more favorable state for our constituents than, say, California. Gas prices here are much more manageable than some blue states that have ridiculous regulations, and we've got more competition and more ability to have lower prices. But they have been taking a hit. The people that I talk to, they're feeling it. Obviously, we've got diesel problems for farmers and the expense that they're dealing with, fertilizer prices that are hitting our agricultural sector, which includes my district and certainly much of Texas. So we've got to do a lot of work to get those down and get it headed in the right direction. American people, though, are very strong about what's happening right now to try to secure the border of the United States, make sure we're defending ourselves worldwide, and try to make the changes we need to make in government. But they want to see us get prices down. And look, I believe that's going to happen over time if we can continue to get our manufacturing sector rolling here in the United States. The tax cuts from last year are now kicking in, get economic growth revved up. People can feel that. And then hopefully we can get to a place where interest rates start coming down a little bit with a new Federal Reserve chairman moving through the Senate. Yeah,
that vote goes to the full Senate next week. Kevin Warsh, we're going to be watching that. Yep. We're also going to be watching this runoff that you're going to have on May 26th. Of course, you're running for Attorney General of Texas. A lot going on for you right now, sir. We're going to be following it.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, Attorney General is a really important job in the state of Texas. I'm a former federal prosecutor, former first assistant attorney general. I've put bad guys in jail. I've been standing up to secure the border in Congress and before. We need a smart lawyer to do that. As Texas goes, so goes the country. So we need somebody strong here to fight for Texas to make sure this country continues to lead, and I'll be happy to do that.
Congressman Chip Roy, it's always a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. God bless.
All right, you too, sir.